Hello, fellow duelists. This is Shadow of the Moon, and today I'm finally bringing you an updated deck profile of my Agent deck for May of 2022. This deck is amazing. I'm so glad that we finally got all the support we got for it and goes from the past second haunting. And I love that most of the stuff is now printed as ultra rare, which makes this deck look really, really, really nice. And this deck actually went through a major upgrade. It's a lot more fast, it has a lot more consistency to it, and it also, just all in all, is a very fun deck to play. This is going to be more of a budget deck because there are some things in here that I do not have, but I decided just to go with more of the agent theme. So without any further ado, finally, let's get straight on into it. So first, we're going to have 3 copies of the new Majesty Hyperion. Majesty Hyperion, instead of Master Hyperion, will be banishing cards on the field. And you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard by banishing 1 agent monster from your hand, field, or graveyard. You can only special summon it once per turn. Any battle damage you take from battles involving your fairy monsters is inflicted your opponent. And then once per turn, you can banish 1 fairy type monster from your hand or graveyard, then target a card in either graveyard and banish it. So it makes it very powerful, completely shuts them down. And just a very good card to be able to have in this deck. And then just 1 copy of Master Hyperion, because he does blow up cards on the field. If you have an agent monster, you just banish it from your hand, field, or graveyard to be able to special summon this card from your hand. And if you have Sanctuary in the Sky, you can destroy 2 cards instead of the normal 1. And then 3 copies of Agent of Creation Venus, the new one that's ultra rare. I love this. I also love that the mystical shines are all ultra rares as well. So basically, the idea is you just pay 500 life points to special summon a Mystic Shine Ball from your hand or deck. And the object of this deck is to be able to constantly get those mystical shines out to be able to go into your Synchro plays, your Exceed plays, or your Link plays. Probably one of the best cards in the deck, in my opinion. And then 1 copy of Agent Creation Venus. Venus, actually, you pay 500 life points. There's only 1 in here just because you're going to be paying the life points to be able to get it back from either banish, graveyard, or whatever, and this acts as another agent of creation, so it's very important. I would only run 1 in the deck, though, because you're already it's very easy to bring out agent of creation as it is. And then the 3 Mystic Shine Balls, which are beautiful. I love the ultra rare versions of these. This is going to be the main part in the deck because this is what's going to help you go into a lot of your plays, your Link plays, to be able to go into the new Agent Link monster, Moon. And just all in all, it's one of the best cards in this deck. Ironically, I think it's hilarious because it's a normal type. So, and then we've got 3 copies of the Agent of Mystery Earth. Mystery of Earth says that when this card is normal summoned, you can add an agent monster from your deck to your hand, and if you have Sanctuary in the Sky on the field, you can add a Master Hyperion. So very good for the consistency of this deck, and it is a tuner, so you have a lot of synchros in this deck, and it's going to really help you bring out those level 8 monsters, such as like Borreload Savage Dragon, and the new Master Flare Hyperion. And then the newest and one of the best new cards that come out in the set is going to be the Agent of Life Neptune. So Agent of Life Neptune, when you can discard this card to special summon an agent monster from your hand or graveyard, except Agent of Life. If Sanctuary of the Sky is on the field or in either graveyard, you can special summon 1 Hyperion monster instead. Neither player can tribute a monster special summoned with this effect until the end of your opponent's next turn. This card is banished. You can add a Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck to your hand, and you can only activate the effect once per turn. So mainly, this deck card is going to be where you want to be able to banish this using Majesty Hyperion's effect, or any of the effects that can actually banish it, because you're going to want to be able to get those cards into your hand and everything. This is an excellent card, and I will be showing a combo tutorial for the deck coming up relatively soon, so stick around for that. This is just a really great card, and it is so easy to bring out. That's why a lot of times you only need 1 Sanctuary in the Sky in this deck, because you have so many ways to be able to actually search it out now. And then just 2 copies of the Agent of Entropy Uranus. Uranus states that if you have a Sanctuary in the Sky on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then you can put a agent card into your graveyard and make this the level of the agent that you put into the graveyard. So that's why the reason I have 2. And then 1 copy of Agent Miracles Jupiter. I just kind of wanted to include this guy. He's not necessary in the build at all. So if you do not want to put him, you do not have to play him. You can overload your deck with some of the other stuff, the staples, some more hand traps. But Agent of Miracles. Once per turn, you can banish an agent monster from your graveyard, then target a light fairy type monster you control. That target gains 800 attack until the end of the turn. And once per turn, you can discard a fairy type monster, then target one of your banished light fairy monsters, special summon it. Sanctuary in the Sky must be on the field to activate this effect. And then one copy of Archlo Christia, because Christia can make it to where it shuts down any special summons from you or your opponent, can kind of really damage them. And then Trias Hierarchia is great because if you have, depending on how many monsters that you special summon that use a tribute, you can either 2, destroy one card your opponent controls, 3, draw 2 cards, and you can only activate the effect of once per turn. So mainly you're going to be using that for that draw power. And then for the hand traps, because I love that the fairies get their own hand traps, obviously we're going to be running 3 copies of Herald of Orange Light. This is mandatory because this is if you discard a fairy type monster and this card, you can negate the activation of an effect monster and destroy it, which comes in very handy. And then lastly, we've got this cute little thing, Buten. Buten makes it to where if he is in the graveyard, you can banish Buten from the graveyard to make one of your monsters a tuner until the end of the turn. So that makes it very useful if you have Foolish Burial, because you can put Buten in the graveyard, and then you can make you can make the Agent of Venus a tuner, and make any of the other monsters tuner to be able to go into your level 8 play. So he's very important. That's why I have 1 in the deck. So that's going to be it for the monsters. Let's move on to the spells. So, funny story, I did order all of the ultra rares. This, ironically, was not the one that they did not give to me. I got all the other ones. So I am going to be making this an ultra rare as soon as I'm able to, because they're dirt cheap. But when I was at the time of making this video, I had received everything and had built the deck, and then found out that my Sanctuary in the Skies were not the ultra rares. So yeah, but this is going to be an ultra rare. This is meant to be in the deck. It's mandatory because this is what gets a lot of the effects off. You only need to run 1 in the deck because you have a 5,000 ways to summon it, and then the new trap card that came out actually acts as Sanctuary in the Sky as well as gets you Sanctuary in the Sky. So Sanctuary in the Sky is just if your fairy type monsters will take no battle damage as long as this card is on the field. So it makes it very hard in the grind game for your opponent to actually do any real damage, because they're attacking your fairy monsters and they can't do anything about it. And then the best spell card actually from the set, the new Sacred Waters of the Sky. Sacred Waters of the Sky, you activate a Sanctuary in the Sky directly from your deck, or add 1 monster that mentions it to your hand, and then if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you can gain 500 life points for each Hyperion and the agent monster you control. If your opponent then mentions the Sanctuary in the Sky will be destroyed by battle, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, and you can only activate this once per turn. Like I said, this is great because it is so easy to bring out Sanctuary in the Sky in this deck, and to be able to gain life points, that is an amazing effect. And then just 1 copy of Chorus of the Sky. You pay 1,000 life points and target a fairy type monster in your graveyard and add it back to your hand, and then if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you can add 1 of your banished Sanctuary in the Sky or 1 banished card that mentions it into your hand. So you can use this to get back the Agent of Life, Neptune, which is going to be, mainly what you're going to be doing with it. And then for the other ones, you've got 1 Harpy's Feather Duster to be able to destroy your opponents. You've got Foolish Burial, put Buten or anything you need in the graveyard. You've got your Instant Fusion, because I am running the level 2 Fusion monster to help Synchro Climb. And then I've got a Monster Reborn. And then that's it for the spells. Let's move on to the traps. So now we have 3 copies of the new Fallen Sanctuary. So Fallen Sanctuary acts as a Sanctuary in the Sky. When this card is activated, you can set 1 Sanctuary in the Sky or 1 spell and trap that mentions it directly from your deck. This card's name becomes Sanctuary in the Sky while on the field or in the graveyard. You can banish 1 fairy type monster in your graveyard, then target 1 effect monster your opponent controls and negate the activation until the end of the turn. Even if the card leaves the field, you can only use the effect once per turn. So this makes it to where your opponent you can shut off your opponent's effects, and if this is in the graveyard, this counts as technically Sanctuary in the Sky. That's why you only really need to run 1 the actual field spell. And then just 2 copies of Divine Punishment, because if you have Sanctuary in the Sky in the field, you can negate the activation of a spell trap or effect monster and destroy it. Alright, so that's going to be it for the main deck. Let's move on to the extra deck. So first, I'm choosing to run 2. You can run one Master Hyperion and then another card, but I wanted to run 2 for this video. In this deck, this is the new Hyperion Synchro monster, and it is amazing. It's 3,200 attack, and you can send an agent monster from 1 monster that mentions Sanctuary in the Sky from your hand or deck or extra deck to the graveyard until the end phase. This card's name becomes that monster's original name, meaning it can copy cards like Venus, it can copy Neptune, it can copy any of the cards that you have that it sends to the graveyard. this card name becomes it, and then when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can banish one fairy type monster from your hand or graveyard, then target one card on the field and then banish it. So as soon as they activate an effect, you can get this guy on the field and banish your opponent's cards, which is very, very, very amazing. It's very amazing. It's also very important because to be able to develop field presence and have field advantage. And then one copy of the new Executioner of the Underworld Pluto. I find it hilarious because there was like that debate years ago about whether or not Pluto was an actual planet. And I mean, obviously, I think Konami believes that Pluto is a planet, so that's why they have the new Executioner Pluto. Pluto is a tuner monster. This card's name is treated as an agent card, and once per turn you can banish a monster from your graveyard, then target one effect monster on the field, change it to face down defense position so it acts like a Book of Moon. This is a quick effect. If Sanctuary of the Sky is on the field or in either graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add Sanctuary of the Sky from your deck to your deck or graveyard back to your hand. You can only activate the effect once per turn. So like I said, very, very consistent to be able to get those agent cards on the field, and easy to be able to get Sanctuary in the Sky. And then Borreload Savage Dragon. If you do not have Borreload, you can also get Drake Berserker of the Tenyai. If you want, this is going to be your Omni Negate. And then I'm running Herald of Arclight. This card can be somewhat bricky if, you're wanting to be able to banish stuff, but the object is to be able to get this out on the field on the first turn and then kind of lock your opponent out of it, because it makes it to where your opponent can't really banish any cards, but it can't for either, it can you. And then Martial Metal Marcher. If you have the Formula Synchron, that's another option. You can put this in here. I'm mainly using this in here because it is a level 3 tuner. And then we have for the fusion, we've got Alvain, the Essence of Vanity. This is going to count as 2 normal monsters, but you can also use Instant Fusion to bring this out. It is a level 2, so it helps you synchro climb. And then Herald of Pure Light, just because I wanted to have all the Heralds in here except for Herald of Awesomeness. So this will allow you to add a fairy type monster back from your graveyard back to your hand. And then the new Protector of the Agent's Moon, quite possibly one of the most busted cards in this new set. So if this card it only requires 2 fairy monsters. If this is Link Summoned, you can add a Sanctuary in the Sky or one card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard. And if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you can add an Agent Mystery Earth from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Instead, you contribute a fairy type monster, then target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. And you can only activate the effect once per turn. And then an Appaloosa. If you do not have Appaloosa, you can have Borreload Dragon. You can have Borreload Dragon if you've got that. It doesn't matter. I'm wanting to stick with this because it is a fairy type monster, even if it's a win. And this is going to be your Omni Negate. Then you have Celestial Nightlord Parseth. Celestial Night Parseth. Discard a card to add Sanctuary in the Sky, basically from your deck to your hand. So see what I mean by it's so consistent, because mainly everything in this deck is going to let you get Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck to your hand. And then Herald of Mirage Light. When a spell or trap or effect is activated, you can send a fairy type monster from your hand to the graveyard to negate the activation, and destroy it. So this is going to help you go into those negates and everything, like I said. So the object is to be able to get a set up your board to make it to where your opponent can't even really play. And then Salamangreat Almirage is going to protect your level 1s. Or this will go from your level 1s. It's going to help protect your monsters if they do get targeted. And then lastly, Imduk of the Royal Chalice. Also another way to be able to link climb, because it is a link 1. Alright, so that's going to be it for this profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This deck is so much fun to play. I love that we finally got the new art, this new support for it. It was long overdue. And honestly, I think this is pretty much going to be it for the agents. I don't see Konami, really updating this deck anymore. So I'm just glad that we got what we got, because this deck flows so well, and it is so much more consistent than it was, and with all the new support. And I love that everything was an ultra rare. That really did make it look nice. So finally with that, thank you so much for watching this video, and with that, see you guys next time.